Welcome. This is Samara Training and our Contractors Safety Management course. My name is Jonathan Scopes. Welcome to the course. Contractors Safety, we want to think about how we're going to manage the contractors so that we end up with a safe piece of work done by them and our place of work remains safe while they do it. So we'll think about the safety culture, then we'll think about 6 principles of what we need to get right, and you'll notice that the contractor selection, the contractor preparation, the contract award and the orientation and training, 4 things out of the 6 are preparation and planning before we get on to managing the contractor's work, and then we have 1 after they've done the work, and finally we'll look at incident investigation. So we're going to do quite a bit on the planning before the contractor comes to site. Safety culture. Why do we want safety? Well, the first and obvious reason is we have a moral obligation. We don't want to get hurt by you or by the contractor, and therefore we don't want to hurt the contractor ourselves. So we want both sides to be working to support each other safely. There will be legal reasons. Nobody wants to go to prison. Nobody wants to be fined. So we avoid those by obeying the law. There are financial reasons. You may think safety is expensive, but accidents are really much more expensive. And then we have a reputational loss. That's the contractor's reputation, but because they're working for us and we chose them, it's our reputation. And because the client chose us, it's the client's reputation. So reputation is important. And we don't want to lose our reputation because that gives us an advantage in the market. We want to keep our good name. We'll have a health and safety policy, and our policy will say that we manage contractors well. So let's manage them well. And then to develop a safety culture, we do need leadership. We need to have people at the top, in the middle and at the bottom, but driving from the top. So the top management needs to be committed to health and safety. And they will involve workers in discussions. We call it consultation. It's a 2-way discussion. So it's not just we tell the workers, but it's a discussion and a consultation. And we'll get their good ideas and communicate our good ideas. So safety culture. Safety culture is the way we do things around here from a safety point of view. So it will be based on many things. It will be things joined together that affect how we do things. So if we are informed, then we know a good way of doing it. That will reflect in how we do it. And if we have good information, we'll do it safely. Can we report anything that we're unsure about? So if I'm not sure about a particular thing, can I report it? Will I be heard? Will they listen to me? Will they support my idea? Can I report in things? A just culture. Just, if I report something because something's gone wrong, will I get in trouble? Or will it be investigated and solved without my getting in trouble? If I know I'm going to get in trouble, then I'm more likely to hide the thing that's causing the safety issue. So you need to have an open, just culture. A learning culture. Learning is important. Companies that have a learning culture where people learn things and tell others about what they've learned and discuss new ideas, those companies tend to be safer. So learning culture is a very valuable thing. And then finally, flexibility. We want to have companies that are open to new ideas, new technologies, new ways of working, new processes. So let's take these ideas and incorporate them, bring them together into the way we work, and our safety culture will improve. So what are the risks to health and safety culture? What's more likely to make our company less safe? Well, one thing is pressure of work. We call it production pressure. Just get it done. Forget the checks. Just do it. That pressure is bad for us. We want to avoid that. We want to work in a safe way, an efficient way, in a good way. Standards can be eroded. Erosion is where something gets worn away slowly. And the thing about erosion of standard is it's slow. So it may not look any different really between today and tomorrow, but after several weeks of these small differences, our standards have dropped. That's an erosion of standards. So we have to keep checking on ourselves. Are we meeting the mark as per our health and safety policy? Complacency. I know I'm good at my job. I know he's good at his job. I don't really need to check him. I can become lazy. That's complacency. When you introduce new staff, they need to be trained to work to our standards, our way of doing it, to our methods. Another risk is we have a new client, and the new client has a different way of doing it. Well, we can learn his new way, we can assess the new way, but we need to do that so that we're sure that the standard that the new client is asking us to work to is in fact at least as safe as what we were doing before. Another risk is new laws, but we don't know about the new laws. So if we don't know about the laws, how can we follow them? We need to have a process in place to find out what the new laws are. And finally, any change in the process. So we want to introduce a new idea. If we don't introduce it systematically in a structured way, then we're going to make a mess and put people or even ourselves at risk. So to maintain a good safety culture, we follow the ISO standard Plan, Do, Check, Act cycle. So plan is, we think about what we're going to do, we plan how to do it, we work out a safe way of doing it, we tell people what your job is, what their different job is, what their different job is, we give them equipment, we train them, and then we have to get on from planning to actually doing the job. So now we do the job. And the only way to find out if it's a good, safe way of doing it is to do it. You can plan as much as you like, but in the end, you have to do it to see how you're doing. So we've planned, we're doing, and then we check. We take some measurements. Are we doing things safely? Are we leaving hazards around? Are we doing the inspections we said we were doing? Things like that. We check. And then as a result of that checking, we can act. We can make a decision to change something, to make maybe a small improvement. And then because we've made a small improvement, our plan has changed. And we go round the cycle again. Plan, do, check, act. And it's a great cycle because it keeps us going, improving all the time. And you'll need good management from the top, and you'll need consultation with the workers to achieve this. Maintaining good safety culture. This is a process diagram, and the middle top box says plan, organize, control. So that's what we're doing. That's the job that we're doing. So to do that job, we have inputs coming in, and we produce the job, and so we have outputs going out. So that's the process. Inputs, do the job, outputs. Now, part of the output is we can take a feedback loop. So you can see we've asked some questions in a feedback loop. Maybe we asked the client, maybe we asked our staff, maybe we asked our contractor, but we took some feedback. And we also did some monitoring and reviewing. Now remember, we had plan, do, check, act. So the check and the act are this monitor and review. And that, because we're measuring what we're putting out and we're changing what we're putting in, we're going round that improvement cycle as part of our process. So that's the process. So, for good safety culture, I've said it before, but we need to have good leadership. The leadership not from the health and safety team, though they will be doing good things, but from the top management. They have to be active in looking at health and safety. So when they talk to people, they'll say, how are you doing the job? How are you doing it safely? Maybe they'll go on site tours. They will certainly look at the measurements and the check and the act, the reviewing process, but they'll be proactive. We need to identify the significant hazards. There are thousands of hazards, And some of them are really very small and not worth worrying about. But the significant ones, those we must focus our attention on. And we do it so that we can manage those hazards, and we've identified them, and then we're going to assess them. Are they significant? We must do something. Or are they insignificant? We can just carry on as we are. And we'll introduce controls. And our controls will say, this is how we manage this hazard. We'll have good health and safety policies, and that's setting the goal, what we want to achieve. It's like the vision. We're going to climb this mountain, and this policy says that's how we're going to do it. In this case, we're going to build something, or we're going to operate a process, and this is how we do it safely. That's our policy. Effective communication. Nothing happens unless we know what's happening. In fact, unless everybody knows what's happening. And to do that, you have to communicate. And communicate is not just me telling, but also you saying what you think. And you may have a better idea. And then I will listen to your good idea, and we'll change our system so we catch the good idea. Then we're going to monitor. We've talked about monitoring on that plan, do, check, act cycle. We're going to monitor, see how we're doing, measure it, and we can compare ourselves with results last year, or with other companies in the industry, or even with other industries, and see how we're doing. And then, even with all these precautions, accidents may still happen. And if they do, then we want to investigate and learn the lesson and solve the problem. And we'll talk about that a bit later. So, common causes of injuries and fatalities. In construction, the most common one is falling from height. It might be falling off a building, falling off a roof, falling at ground level into a hole. Lots of ways to fall, but people do it regularly. It's a common injury, and it's a common fatality. Being hit by a moving or falling object. So vehicles maybe, or maybe a load on a crane, or a vehicle reversing, or something falling off the roof, that kind of thing. So being hit by something. And then contact with electricity. We use electricity, we like electricity. I'm in a room with an AC and with lights, I'm very glad about that. But electricity can cause harm, and particularly in a temporary condition, when we're building something, we're at risk. Then those are fatalities from a safety point of view. And then ill health. Manual handling is where we lift something, or push something, or pull something. People injure their backs quite often. Exposure to noise. And if you're exposed to noise for many days, over a long period of time, then the potential is for your ears to be permanently damaged. And there's no cure for that. And vibration, maybe you're using a tool that vibrates. Eventually that's going to affect your hands and wrists and shoulders. Dermatitis means skin disease. So people are exposed to chemicals, perhaps cement. They will get cement burns, and they get dermatitis. Asbestosis, that's exposure to asbestos. That's asbestos that's got past your protection into the lungs and is causing a lung cancer, or it's damaging your lungs in a big way. And again, it's not reversible. If you have asbestosis, you have it for life, and your breathing will be affected and get progressively worse. And another one is stress. Too much work, or even not enough work, both are stressful. Too much time pressure, having conflicting things to do. Maybe two people saying do this, and you think, oh, which do I do? I can't do both. So that's stress. So let's think, who is a contractor? Well, it might be a company, it might be an individual, but it's not someone who works for us full time. We're paying them to do another job. So they come to us and do this job. Examples are builders, who come and build something, maybe an extension to your villa, or maybe build an oil refinery. The designers, the people who told the builder what to build. And you want to choose good designers, otherwise what you'll get is a poor design that doesn't work well for you. Vendors, people who come to sell or provide materials for us to use. Cleaning companies or cleaning individuals. They come to our company to do the cleaning. Great, but they're a contractor, and we'll talk about how to manage them. And then service providers, maybe they provide a catering service, they provide the food, or some other service. So these are examples of contractors. So why is contractor safety management important? Well, it's important because it's going to affect our reputation. But let's start at the top. We need to choose contractors who we're confident can do the job safely. We want to maintain a high standard of safety for our clients. Why? Because we want to get another job with the client, because we want to protect the client's good name, because we want to protect our good name. But we want high standards. And to do that, we need to choose contractors who themselves have good safety standards, good systems, well-trained staff, the same as we hope for ourselves. If we do that, then we will reduce the number of accidents and incidents, and that's good. Accidents and incidents take time to investigate, they cause damage, they cause harm, we want to avoid them. We've talked about client reputation. Protecting our workers. If you want people to stay with you and work well, keep them safe. If you want them to leave the company, just keep having accidents, and people will lose interest and will actually run away from working for you. They'll go looking for another job. Why? Because it's not safe there. I don't feel good. But if you have a good reputation for safety, people will come to your company, they'll look to come to your company. I want to work for that company because they have a good name. And then we need to make sure that the standards that our contractor's working at meets our standards, and our standards meet the client standards. And all of the client standards meet the standard of the law. Because if the contractor's not working to the right standard, then the work that I'm supervising isn't to the right standard, and the client's work is not to the right standard. Everything depends on the person at the bottom doing the job well. So our contractors must work well. Okay, so how do we choose a good contractor? Choose one that has a good system of working, a health and safety management system, one that has good procedures, well managed, thought through, well measured, things that they know how to do. And you can ask them before they give you the price, give me an example of your method statement for this type of work. You don't have to write one especially for this tender. Give me an example from another job that you've done, and you'll understand, do they do a good job? Ask for references, and when they give you the reference, check the reference. I don't mean look at it, I mean phone the company and say, did you employ this company? Were they good at their job? And if they say, yeah, they're a great job, and safe as well, you say, great, we'll take them on. Look at the CVs of the staff they've got. Are they working well? Do they have qualifications? Have they experience? Then you can look at their safety data. How have they done in the past? You can ask them for their data maybe for the last 5 years. How many accidents have you had? And then you can look at the commercial arrangements. If you know they can do it safely, then you can compare it with another company that you know can do it safely. And when you compare the prices, you're comparing similar things. They can both do it safely. Then we can prepare our documents. So the clients will have a system of working, and we need to communicate that system to the people who are tendering for the work. Then they will know how they have to do the work on this client's site. We can give them site-specific information. I don't mean general information like it's hot in Oman. I mean site-specific information like there's an underground cable here, or there's an overhead electric cable there. That kind of information that's useful to them when they're pricing the work. We can set project goals. I want you to be safe, I want a safe way of working, and this is our target. We're targeting 0 accidents, and we will work with you to achieve that. Welfare provision. Welfare is things like toilets and so on. Are we providing the toilets, or expecting the contractor to bring their own? Fine. Put it in the tender so they know what to price. Tell them about your emergency procedures. If there is a fire alarm, this is what you will have to do. And then they can arrange for that and train their staff for that when they come to site. And what documents do you require? And those will be different from job to job, from client to client, but tell the contractor what documents they have to produce. And I'll mention some of those in the next few slides. Contract award. This is where you actually sign the contract and close the contract award. So the teams meet. This is very important. If you've seen somebody, it's easier to relate to them in the future. You'll exchange contact details. Here's my phone number. Here's my email address. Usually you'll have a point of contact. So one person is the focal point, both for the contractor and for the client. So the one point, all the information will go through these two people, so there's control. You'll set the start date, you'll set the finish date. Give the contractor enough time to do the job safely. If I say to a contractor, build this villa in 1 month, it's not going to be done safely. It probably won't be done at all. Allow the contractor to make a profit. Why? If they make a profit, they're going to work well. If you have screwed the price down so tight, there's no profit, they're going to be looking to cut corners to get some profit. They will do a bad job for you. Expect a contractor and encourage a contractor and help a contractor to make money. Then they'll be good at their job. And then give them the pre-construction health and safety plan. So this is what we want you to do, and they will tell you this is how we're going to do it. And that's their plan, how they're going to do it. Training. Yeah, we need training, we need orientation. So when they come to site, we don't just say, here's the site. We say, here's the site. You need to have an induction, a client induction. Now we can take you out on site and walk you around so you can see what there is. And we can talk to you about the hazard here or the hazard there. So it's in their minds to know about it. We'll exchange emergency contact details. We'll tell them about the emergency drill we're planning next week. Okay, we've got a drill coming. You will have to participate. This is what you have to do. These are your responsibilities. We'll have an organisation charts, organograms we call them. And basically we want the contractor to feel at home on our site. So they know how we work here, so they work to the same high standards. And we've said the induction. Now we can manage the work. Okay, so there's a permit to work. Maybe it's required by the client. So let's get the permit and help the contractor to get the permit. Then we review the plan from the contractor. The contractor says, I've looked at it carefully in detail. This is how I'm going to do the work. And you look through it. And you look at what they say they're going to do and see if they're going to do it well or not. And if not, you have to say, I reject this plan, go and change this bit and change that bit. There needs to be a formal process of saying, this area is for you to work in, and I'm giving you the key, as it were, now. And now it's your responsibility to manage safety in that area. And at the end, when the contractor's done whatever they have to do, they give it back to us and we take it back. You can do it in phases, so they might give us phase 1 and then phase 2, no problem. If to do their work we have to shut down some of our processes, there's going to be a lot of coordination and planning, and we'll go back to the permits to work. But we need to plan. If the contractor needs to do this work maybe in 2 months' time, we have to plan to shut down our process so that the contractor can do the work. Well, let's coordinate. Let's plan together. And at the end of the job, the contractor should give you a complete set of health and safety information. I call it the health and safety file, and it will have the O&M manuals in it, the operations and maintenance manuals for the equipment. It will have the as-built drawings, so we know what they've built, and any other health and safety related information. Afterwards, we want to basically ask ourselves the question, would we employ this contractor again? So we give them a rating and we make a decision. We like this contractor, we would employ them again. Give your HSE team a veto on that so they can say no, they really were awful, if they were awful. Look at the information they've given you, and if it's good, then you feel good about the contractor and will re-employ. Incident investigation. Accidents follow a triangular pattern like this, as you see. What it says is we have maybe one fatality or one major injury, 29 in this case minor injuries, 300 near misses and 3,000 unsafe acts. And the theory, this is backed up by an enormous study, but the theory says if we reduce the number of unsafe acts, the whole triangle gets smaller and we get fewer major injuries. So we want to investigate even the unsafe acts. So how do we do it? Well, first of all, we need to know why. We want to learn the lessons so we don't have the same accident again. And we'll go to the underlying and even the root causes to solve that. To avoid the accidents. And then think about the plan, do, check, act. We'll improve our processes. It will save us money. And it will also establish legal liability. So if there is a court case, we don't want there to be, but if there is, we can say, we did our part, our contractor did our part, their part, and this is what happened, and let the courts decide. So we need to gather the information. And one way to analyze the information is a Fishbone Method. You'll see a picture of a fish there. You set the problem in the fish's head, so you write the problem. It might be the accident, or it might be a problem that you want to solve. Then you get a team together, and you draw the fishbone like we have. Write the problem in the head, and then for each spine, you write down the primary things that you're thinking about. So one spine might relate to people. Was there anything in this incident that caused by people? And you write them down. And then you look at another. Was there anything in this incident caused by equipment or plant? And you write them down. Was there anything caused by materials? You write them down. Then another one, processes. So each one you brainstorm and write down all the possible things. And when you've done that, you can ask why. So you accept all the ideas, and then is this one real? And you tick this one and you reject that one. And then we can look at it and say we've done a full analysis, and having done that analysis, we can say these are the root causes, and it's all there in front of you, all the information, and you can justify why you've done it. And having done that, then you can take an action, change and improve the situation. And you're welcome to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn and Facebook. Thank you.